We've talked about overperformers, but now we're going to talk about some underperformers.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, joined by Amber, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds. The three of us just can't quite get enough of food. So if you like food and you have empathy and money and disposable income, you can give us money via Patreon. You can go over there, subscribe to your favorite tier, get some merch in return after a few pledges, and all of a sudden, now we're all eating.
Dragon Shield is a sponsor of this channel. They have the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
And literally, we've been using them in our decks for 10 plus years. These sleeves are amazing. Put them on every single one of your decks. They have a variety of colors. Use their EU or US link in the description below, depending on where you live. Get those amazing sleeves. Support the nerds and show Dragon Shield just how awesome they are, because we show them every day by saying, hey, you're awesome.
Amber only ever knocks Dragon Shield sleeves off of the tables. You can lay out 7 different brands of sleeves, and she'll only knock down Dragon Shield because she knows they can take it. The rest of them will just disintegrate when they hit the ground.
This is true. I've tested it. Drop those other sleeves in the ground.
The redacted sleeves.
Redacted sleeves, they disintegrate. Literally disintegrate, like the Snap from Marvel.
Yeah, like the Marvel Snap.
That's
a different game, actually.
Marvel Snap is a different game, and those sleeves also would disintegrate if they made sleeves.
And happy birthday to everyone's birthdays today before we go into this video, which is right now. It's Underperformers. This card we've been playing with personally, seeing in play personally, that just consistently play worse than we think they're going to. The level at which we think they're going to perform varies from card to card, but the consistency is they're all underperforming.
Yeah, they're doing worse than we think they're going to do. That's pretty simple. Let's hop into it. First one I have here, Organic Extinction, 8 white. It has improvised, meaning you can tap artifacts to pay for its colorless cost, but it'll always cost you that white. 10 mana. 10 mana is too much. Improvising 8 to get it down. You just end up tapping every one of your good things. I've been very, very unhappy with this card. I still have it in the deck. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's unplayable. It does save your artifact creatures when you do it. This card is not very good. And I just look at a card like the card that costs 6 mana, their name is Death, is just better than this card and consistently cast for less mana. That's my issue with it. Is like, if a 6 mana board wipe to get it, which is overcosted a bit, is consistently better than this one, then this one's cost reduction isn't worth a whole lot overall.
Yeah, this needs like affinity or something, because you can't really take immediate advantage of your one-sided board wipe because all your creatures are tapped, and it's not like your artifact lands can really contribute to this in any way because they're just lands. They either make mana or they improvise, which is the same as making mana.
Same is true for artifact creatures that make mana. Like all your mana dorks, say you're playing the Mia or you're playing Ornithopter Paradise, they don't advance you at all, and that's just kind of what happens with this card. Unless you're so wide it doesn't matter that you're already winning, then this card becomes a win more card, and then it's still not very good.
Yeah, this next one, I didn't really even have that high of expectations, but I put it in thinking the word indestructible has got to be worth something. It ended up being pretty bad. It's Brash Taunter, it's indestructible, it's got Stuffy Doll text, and it can fight creatures to like do direct damage to players. Man, this thing kind of stunk. Like, the indestructible did not hold up nearly as much as it needs to be worth 5 mana.
Yeah, I love this card. I mean, this is one of my favorite cards ever. I still play it in the deck. I'm not taking it out of that deck. But yeah, BZ's right. I mean, the issue is this thing does die more often than you would like to. And the problem is you spend 5 mana and you get nothing right away. It does prevent a lot of attackers from coming at you often. It is a good in that sense, but it doesn't stay in the battlefield long enough. If you could consistently keep this thing out for a turn or two, it'd be great. You just can't reliably do that. It dies to all the cards that we talk about playing, like Soul Shatter. It's like, it just ends up dying to cards like that incidentally, and then this is just gone forever.
I mean, I know that, viewers of this channel are probably similar to us, but I'm playing Yawgmoth in like basically any black deck with creatures in it, and whenever that's at the table, the same as Brash Taunter, it's either stuck in your hand and you go, crap, this sucks, or it's in play and it's dead.
It's true. Yeah, but I love this card. I don't want to make fun of it or hate on it too much because I think it's still a playable card, but it's definitely underperformed in the expectation category.
It is not even close to unkillable.
Up next, we have Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger, 6 green, double up your mana, your opponent's tap mana. Well, guess what? It's not untapping the next turn. BZ, you've played this one a lot more than me, so why don't you tell me your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I know it's not the most fun card in the world. I kind of just don't even necessarily agree with that. I think it's like an insert big splashy card here, and they all feel pretty similar to me. This one I tried to play out. I had a deck that wanted double mana, was pretty interested in it, and like it just didn't even feel like it was that worth it. You're paying a little bit of a premium. I ended up cutting it for Zendikar Resurgent, which is similar. I really care about the selfish part more so than maybe opponents are going to, lose a few mana over the course of a few turns. Like, I really just want double mana. So I ended up just cutting it, not even for fun, but for just power. I thought it wasn't that great. It kind of disappointed me. And it dies to a lot more than some of these enchantments do.
I mean, this card is strong, very strong, but it's talked about as if it's one of the best 8 drops in the format, and that's just not true, I don't think. I think if you're spending 8 mana, you can just, in general, do much better. And like you said, the mana doublers, they just cost less mana than this. You should be spending less mana on your mana doublers. Play, like you said, Zendikar Resurgence. Play, what is it?
Even the Monarch one.
The Monarch one? What's
Regal Behemoth.
What's even just the mana doubler for 6 mana?
Mana Reflection.
Mana Reflection. All these cards are just cards I kind of want to play before this. And besides the part that's not that good, the unfun part is also just not that good. It's unfun and not that good. So it's like, oh, what a horrible combination that is to be for an ability.
Yeah, so you're even less likely to untap with your mana doubler. And every mana you pay extra on your mana doubler is 2 mana you're missing out on. If you play Mirari's Wake instead of this, you have 6 mana versus none.
Yeah, this card is the ultimate, this is one of the biggest, bullseye targets that just screams remove me every time it hits the battlefield.
Another card I actually tried testing out alongside of Vorinclex was Geth, Lord of the Vault. And now Vorinclex ended up being subpar, and I found better options. I think Geth just, completely sucks. Oh my god. This card, I had, 50 mana, and I still don't think this card's any good. I just go, wow, I could really spend this on such better things. And if you don't have 50 mana, it doesn't do anything. Man, I really do not like Geth. I thought it played out way worse than I even thought possible.
What's funny about this card for me is it can't be an underperformer for me because I've always thought this card sucked.
Mm-hmm. I tried it out. I was like, you know what? I have so much mana. That seems like the Magical Christmas Land will be more of a standard for this, and it's still not.
I literally look at this card and I just think, I would never play this card ever. You can't underperform a card I would never put in a deck, right?
It's like I just ended up, when I have so much mana, I want to do my own things. I don't want to go, sure hope my opponent has something good.
Yeah, very, very fair. Yeah, Geth is pretty poopy. Next, we have Adriana, Captain of the Guard. Gives your creatures melee. All your creatures have melee.
It looks appealing.
It does look appealing, and I tried it in the deck, and it's my Ishin deck, so it cares about the attack triggers, doubles up those attack triggers, which does make the creatures much stronger. It just wasn't impressive at all. And now that this card underperformed a ton, you can get this effect for 3 mana now.
On a flyer.
Just get it on the 3 mana flyer because Adriana is just too big, clunky, and much like Brash Taunter, it's just you're tapping out, you're spending all your mana on your turn for this card. That just doesn't do enough.
Melee is just really weird. Melee is an awkward ability. How many creatures do I have that I'm attacking everybody and feeling comfortable about it? I have to juggle if somebody has Death Toucher or if somebody has an indestructible creature, or maybe they have a Rash Taunter. Well, I just can't attack them. So my melee's worse, and then this card's worse, and it's so many different chances to just play an overrun or comparable effects. So I have not liked Melee or Adriana very much.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in the command zone, she's a cool, unique card. She's just not good otherwise. Next, we have Glorious Sunrise.
I had this in a budget deck, and it seems like it does a little bit of everything, and then it just felt like, even in a budget arena, this was every single thing was just a little bit too slow or bad to justify the 5 mana price tag on it. I was disappointed by this one. I really wanted to like this card.
Yeah, this card is cool. And I also have tried putting it in the deck before, when it first came out. And it didn't stay in very long. It was out right away.
It's nothing special at most.
Exactly. It's not an exciting card. And like you said, all the modes are just underwhelming. It's like making mana, that's underwhelming. The draw a card if you have a power 3 grid, that's the best version. But it's 5 mana, draw 1 card each turn. That's not very good. And the pump is incredibly underwhelming.
I would want a better pump, and 3 life is nothing. I would want a better pump or more cards or more mana. And this isn't really. There's not a combination of these that I get over 4 turns that makes me feel that good.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting your mana back is just not a realistic thing. It's not very good in that sense. That's the very worst version of this card. And like I said, the best version is you're drawing 1 card a turn. That's just not that strong on a 5 mana enchantment. Next, we have Blackblade Reforged. 2 mana artifact. Costs 7 to equip. That's terrible. But you can actually pay 3 to equip it to a legend. I've been so underwhelmed with this card. It gives +1/+1 for each land you control. That's actually the important part. It doesn't just equip and do nothing.
That would be bad.
That would be terrible.
I don't know how that could underperform.
I'm very I've tried this in decks, decks that Collateral Power, all this stuff. I think exactly Voltron is when this card is playable, and anything else, you just want to avoid it. It is 2 to play, 3 to equip. That's 5 mana to get this card going. If you don't have anything good or great to use on it just isn't it just doesn't do enough.
I think one of the things that makes this look better than it is I think if the card was just 2 to play, 3 to equip, and there was no other words on it, we could see pretty quickly how it underperforms. But it feels like you're getting such a discount because even if it said equip 1,000 or equip legendary creature 3, it's like I'm saving 997 mana. It's like, yeah, but let's just look at what the card does. Let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. It's still a lot of stats, and you need to do more work before you're connecting with this. I have not been a big fan either.
I would only ever suggest this card Voltron, or if your commander already has Trample. Those kind of things are kind of where this card fits. It does have homes, don't get me wrong.
Throw it on a Gulta, feel good about it.
Yeah, but I think overall, this card is definitely a card that I would avoid in almost all situations unless you're in a very specific deck. In fact, I just saw this card today, interestingly enough, I was playing on Mental Misplay stream. Check it out. We'll put a link in the description. BZ, don't forget.
This is the biggest test of my life.
Mental Misplay is going to be so mad. Alan's going to be so upset.
Sorry in advance.
He put it onto a creature and then attacked me. I just had a bigger creature and it just did nothing. This card literally just ended up doing nothing. Or the other situation, if I didn't have this bigger blocker, I had 1/1s. So he would have attacked me, I would have chumped, and then nothing would have happened. And that's just how this card performs.
Thought it might be good outside of the Voltron. Doesn't end up being good outside of the Voltron. I hate Ghostly Prison and all the type effects, and I wanted to try out Windborne Muse. I had a flying deck that cared about onboard tricks, and I thought it'd be funny or interesting. And this is what a great way to test this card out. Every single time I had it in my hand, it was I don't even know if I ever resolved it, because every single time I had it in my hand, I would play every other spell until this was the last spell, and then sometimes I still wouldn't even play it because it just never seemed even remotely castable or good on any board state I've ever come across with this thing. Wow, I did not like it. I'm cutting it as soon as I remember because I haven't played that deck in a bit.
Yeah, I think something about Windborne Muse is, one, I don't like Windborne Muse specifically, I don't like. So I'm kind of going to talk about...
We can at least agree on that.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of talk about Ghostly Prison for a second. I think the deck you had was played enough creatures and was decent enough at protecting itself that it didn't need this. I think that this is a very specific... this effect, the Ghostly Prison effect, which we get on Windborne Muse, is very specific to specific archetypes, and it will... for sure underperform. If your deck is good at protecting itself, it will do nothing. It's like if you have 2 or 3 really good blockers up every turn, why do you need them not to attack you? They're already not doing that because you have good creatures.
And then some of it was I don't have creatures in play. Well, do I want to play Windborne Muse or do I want to wipe the board? I'll just wipe the board. Yeah. I've never wanted to play this thing.
Yeah, exactly. I can agree with that completely. Next, move on to Witness Protection. 1 blue comes in, creature becomes a citizen, totally normal citizen, legitimate businessman. So that's all it does. And BZ is the one playing this card, so BZ, go over this one.
I've cut it from 2 separate decks because I just wanted to test it out. I tested it out in 2 different arenas. One of them was an Enchantress deck with cantrip effects when you play it, and the other one was just that deck that actually had Windborne Muse in it, just to see how it worked. Just wasn't a fan. Losing the card off of Kenra's Transformation, pretty big hit on the card. Don't like it. Wouldn't really recommend it either. It was a test, and it kind of failed the test.
Yeah, the card, I just wasn't very high on this one. It just doesn't do nearly enough. Like you said, Kenra's Transformation, having draw a card makes the card...
changes everything.
It changes everything on the card. You're paying 1 more mana and getting the card draw up to that every single time. This ends up being one of those cards that you just kind of play out, and it's a 1-for-1, but it ends up being like an O-Ring effect, right? And we don't suggest playing O-Ring effect.
It's kind of like that.
Because as soon as they have removal for it, it's just gone, and you didn't get your card back.
Mm-hmm. Darksteel Mutation feels similar, but it's a little different. Darksteel Mutation is really weird.
I'm also not a big fan of Darksteel Mutation either.
Yeah, people were also mentioning you can put it on your own thing and then have an indestructible blocker. It's I guess.
If that's
your move,
that should never be in your playbook. That is a terrible play.
But we can Witness Protection your own thing.
You 2-for-1 yourself. 2-for-0.
Then you have an indestructible blocker. Then you have a Brash Taunter.
You have a 1/1. You made a Brash Taunter.
Build your own Underperformer.
You spend 2 cards, and you have a 1/1 indestructible. That is terrible.
I'm just saying what somebody told me. Okay, Witness Protection. We're not big fans. Probably wouldn't recommend it, although it was worth a shot. I'm glad I tried it.
Next, the card that we have talked about in the past, actually very recently, but we'll talk about Underperformers, and this one just fits the exact category of that. It's Toski, Bearer of Secrets. The main issue with Toski just tends to be that it's, again, this 1/1 indestructible. We just talked about Brash Taunter, how these aren't as sticky as they should be.
Same dealio.
So we'll just kind of gloss by that. And then you add the fact that, how many go-wide green decks that I have a ton of attackers and want to get through are there. I would put this in my Edric Sar deck, but that's like, or what is it? It's not Edric Sar.
Edric, Spymaster of Trest.
Yes, I would put this in my Edric Spymaster of Trest deck because I have a bunch of tiny evasive creatures that are going to sneak through. I just don't know what other homes there are for this card. I tried it in a bunch of different decks, and maybe just like some of these other cards we've talked about, the issue with Toski isn't that it's a bad card, it's that it's a niche card, that you have to play it in very specific strategies.
When it seemed more generically good.
When I just thought it was a generically good card. So I just kind of threw it in decks like, I'm going to try it here, I'm going to try it here. And all the decks, it's not any of my decks anymore because I don't have a deck that I think it fits in.
Yeah, we even compared it to like Orin Frostfang, which you like a lot better.
Honestly, if you want this effect and you just want to play one of this effect, go with Orin Frostfang. I think that card is much better. It helps actually push through tiny 1/1s, whereas Toski doesn't do that. It's like if you have 5 1/1s, Toski's not going to help push them through your opponent who have blockers, whereas Orin Frostfang will give you the card draw as well. So I think that's where if you want one of these effects, you go with that one first. Toski just been underperforming.
Toski also doesn't give you the board presence that some of the other creatures that can do this can, where like it kind of feels like an enchantment half the time because it's always tapped. You can't block with it. And it doesn't really do anything on attacks. Like if they block it with a 2/2 or something, it kind of just is there. And it can feel like a weird like tempo loss for the first or second turn you play it.
Very true. All right, let's move on to Narset's Reversal. Blue. Put target spell back in it's the player who casts its hand. I don't know why.
That's what it says.
It does, yeah. Put target spell
funky wording
in target player who casts its hand. Weird, terrible wording.
They're gonna keyword that.
I hope so. And then you copy that spell. Well, actually, you copy it first, and then you put it back. But regardless, this card, when we started talking about this card when it came out, we were like, "This is gonna be amazing. This card is amazing."
Everyone said that, by the way. It wasn't just us.
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of people, and we threw it in decks, and it just never was very good. I've seen it now. I have been in the Brawl situation. I have seen this card literally like hit Rise of the Dark Realms, win the game, be amazing. But the fact of the matter is, the fact that this only hits instant and sorceries is why I am really, really low on this card. That's too niche for a casual game of Commander. That is perfectly fine maybe for some higher power type games where you're going to see a lot of instant sorceries.
Although I don't even know if it ended up making a splash in CDH either.
I don't think it made really a splash anywhere. So it's kind of like in this weird spot. Only hitting instant sorceries is way too much of a downside. And the fact is, counter spells are too good. There are way too many good counter spells. And honestly, this underperforms so much, I think I'd rather play regular counter spell in its place to be more versatile, hit more things, than have my chance at the blowout once in a while.
This also just isn't a full counter spell. They get the spell back. If it's a spell that's going to kill you, you're dead. You just delay it for a second, and they're going to cast it right away or next turn. Doesn't feel great in terms of disrupting. You kind of want to get the copy value, and then it's like, how much different is this than just like twin cast?
If your opponents are playing, if your opponents like to play, it is basically twin cast in a lot of senses,
right?
In that, but if you lose to Torment of Hailfire a lot, play this card.
Yeah, play this card. that'll show them.
It's good. Oh, it'll feel so good
because they'll have to discard their Torment to survive your Torment.
I'll just do Torment of Hailfire for 50. All right, I'll do Torment of Hailfire for 50.
Thanks a lot.
Got him.
Moving on to a nice little green instant. People love playing Tamiyo's Safekeeping. And I thought, hey, people love playing Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Let me give it a shot. I got a commander I want to protect. And then it was just like there, and it's like, well, I don't have my commander out. And I don't plan on getting my commander out. This card doesn't do anything. It has basically rotted in my hand for the most part. And then there's sometimes where I have to tap out for my commander anyway, and it just dies, and I go, yeah, I couldn't afford to wait an extra turn for Tamiyo's Safekeeping. So it's just really awkward. It's been playing really awkward. I cut it. Don't even miss it, really.
Yeah, Tamiyo's Safekeeping, the main just issue here is this holding up this 1 mana is not very good when you need to protect something. You just don't want to hold up mana. And plus, you can get this effect at 2 mana and protect your whole board.
Yeah.
So, that is so much better. It's like, we're not super high in Heroic Intervention. We're not talking to put it in every single deck. But it's so much better than Tamiyo's Safekeeping, which can only protect one thing, and you have to hold it up. The only version that of this type of card I think is playable is Malika Rebirth, and that's because it's an MDFC. If we get Snakeskin Veil, but it's an MDFC, I'm in. That card's amazing.
Yeah, I have both of those. I had both those in the deck, and I cut Tamiyo's Safekeeping, and I'm still super thrilled with Malika Rebirth.
Yeah, Malika Rebirth is just really is just an amazing card. Next, we have Black Market Connections. 3 mana at the beginning of your upkeep. You choose something. I guess that's actually your main phase, but whatever. You choose 1 or multiple. Lose 1 life, make a treasure. Lose 2 life, draw a card. Lose 3 life, get a 3/2 that is all types.
We've actually never cast this card, full disclosure, but we've seen it cast plenty of times. We've been to plenty of conventions.
Yeah,
and seen this card resolved.
Yeah, this I sit across from this card, and the expectation isn't like super high about it, but like it just really doesn't do anything. It's obviously akin to Phyrexian Arena. I think it's almost just as bad as Phyrexian. I think this card is slightly better, but not much better. But
where's the bar? The bar is, this is apparently a $30 card. Does not appear to play like a $30 card at all.
Just like Phyrexian Arena didn't play like a $20 card for the longest time when it was a $20 card. This card is just not very good, and I don't see the value here. And the problem is, you better be in a life gain deck. That's the only place I think this is actually remotely playable. And again, just like we were talking before, instead of being the generic good, maybe it's just good in life gain, because life gain can actually overcome the large amount of life that this card costs. This card is not Phyrexian Arena. We're losing 1 life every turn, or 1 life per draw is reasonable. 2 life per draw is not as reasonable. 1 life
you
for
really
a
want
treasure?
3 though. Like I want 3. I want the treasure and I want a card.
And like doing 6 is ridiculous. Like that is a lot to pay. Like it's almost not worth it. 3 like
The
it's
token is not worth 3 life.
It's too much life overall. And like the token can be useful. Like there are definitely decks that will use it and get used to it. But one of the issues is you pay the 3 life, you get this 3/2, then you pass. It doesn't have haste.
Yeah, you just kind of. It's like a blocker. I mean, the 3/2 is not impactful. That's why we give people 3/3s when we destroy their creatures with Rapid Hybrid, because I don't care if you have a 3/3 for the most part. Just having like this card, it has not performed like a $30 card. It's probably good in some decks. It does not seem to be a staple in like any capacity to me.
All right, moving on. We have Professional Face Breaker. This card is not bad. I want to state that first. 3 mana for a menace, 2/3. If it hits, you get 1 treasure. I guess if you hit a player, you get 1 treasure, and then you can sacrifice treasures to impulse draw cards.
Up to 3 per combat.
Yes. So my main issue with this card is my expectations were set super high. Previous to this card, we got Grim Hireling. That card's incredible.
Overperformer.
Absolute overperformer. It has been an all-star everywhere I've been able to play it in a deck. I would strongly suggest that people try that card out more. It's very, very good. I was putting it on that level. It's not there. Making 2 treasures versus 1 treasure is ridiculous. And yes, this might have the better ability of turning them into card draw. That doesn't actually matter, because Grim Hireling, the mana is what you care about. So Professional Face Breaker just underperformed my standards from there. That said, again, when we talk about niche impulse draw decks, which there are a couple of those, so that would absolutely love this. And this is very, very good in treasure-centric decks, where you can turn your millions of treasures that you made into card draw. It seems like this card was made for Prosper. It's weird how much this card was made for Prosper.
Yeah, if you can sneak through damage, extremely easily, like you got a bunch of 1/1 unblockables in your deck, it's great. Treasure, it's great. Impulse draw, it's great. And then like we're talking about the rest of it, where we thought, hey, this is maybe a card I can just play. This may be one of the better red cards they've printed in a while. I don't know if it really lived up to that. It's kind of okay. Although I am higher on it than Cherries.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's bad. I definitely don't think this card is bad. I think the fact is I put it on a pedestal because I put it next to Grim Hireling. It's nowhere near Grim Hireling. All right, moving on, we have Cursed Mirror, 3 mana rock that makes a red, but when it enters the battlefield, it's a copy of a creature on the battlefield until end of turn, and then it turns back into the mana rock. Manalith is terrible, so let's start there. Do not play Manalith. Do not play any Manalith under the unless you have an upside. So this does have an upside. I have just tried this. The upside is never good enough. You
It's
have
usually like an ETB.
You like 1 ETB, and you have to hope that there's something good on the battlefield. If there's something good on the battlefield, you're just playing out this bad mana rock. You never want that. Like when this is Manalith that makes just red mana, it's big stink.
It's actually worse than Manalith.
It's
at that point.
Yeah, it is worse than Manalith. So you have to be able to get something out of this when it enters. That can't be guaranteed. That's not even most of the time. That's just, I would say it's probably maybe 50% of the time.
Like if you just throw this in a deck.
If you just throw this in a deck, how often will you actually get more value than it being a Manalith? 50% of the time, that's too crappy. You can't have Manalith 50% of the time. This card, I tried it. I literally put it in the deck and I'm like, it's going to be great. And then I'm just like, oh, what's something to do with this? Am I going to play this crappy mana rock?
Yeah, I think it's a lot more niche, sadly, than it seems to be, where, it looked like, I can maybe just play this in a lot of red decks. I think you're kind of relegated to, like, it goes infinite with Astral Dragon. That's really cool. That's, like, a super high-power combo. And then, like, if you're playing some kind of Rianya deck where, like, every creature in your deck has an ETB because you want to clone them, that's where it can do work.
Yeah, this card has homes again. It's more...
Less homes than we thought.
Underperformers is all about expectations. Our expectations were set high for most of these cards. and they just never reach their goal. We did another one of these last year without our background being as dark, and so it's more bright. So if you want to burn your eyes out, go watch this video right here. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.